Hey friends, it's Coach B with Young Rich and Rooted, and it's here, it's here, it's here. The book is here. I polled my Facebook audience a couple days ago and asked them if I should go live doing a reveal and going through the workbook with you guys so that if you guys have any questions, you can ask them. And y'all said yes, please do it. And so I am going to go through this book. I'm not going to go through every page because this is 243 pages. Things thick. Okay, this is textbook thick. But it's a lot in here. For those of y'all who are familiar with my planners, which I don't even have one next to me, my annual planners, I didn't do one for what year is this? 2024? Is that the year we're in right now? I didn't do one for 2024. And let me tell you something. The DMs that I got of people heartbroken because I didn't release a planner this year. But I promise that if y'all will be patient with me, the project I was working on was going to be so much better than what was in the planner. And I promise to keep a lot of your favorite features from the planner and put it in here. Now, I may still do a full dated calendar, but I'm going to show you why I felt like it was going to be redundant as I go through this workbook. Thank y'all for joining. Say hi in the comments so I can say hi and see who's here. If you guys have any questions specifically about the workbook, about budgeting, now's your time to ask those questions. It doesn't have to be about the workbook. You can ask any question you want. But I plan on going through the workbook and answering all your questions. So, who is this workbook for? This workbook has been designed and created. You see how this workbook is all black? You see how bliggity black it is? Hey Rachel. Hey Rachel, thanks for joining. Yeah, this workbook was created with us in mind. I am an ADHD coach for gifted Black women, and I find that a lot of times when I go into the bookstores, I don't see tools that represent us, that make me feel like the author understands our unique plight, and especially with ADHD. I feel like there's lots about the tools and resources that they've created that don't keep us in mind. And I wanted to create something that would be very easy and encouraging for us to use. Thank you. I'm glad you love the color. I love it too. I'm obsessed. So it's black. Okay. Now the title, I really hesitated to give it this title. Okay. The title spoke to me. Okay. I didn't hesitate for myself. This is how I want to feel about me. And this is how I want y'all to feel about your finances. But I was worried that I might offend some people. But I sat with it and I talked to God a lot about this. And I said, God, and he said, huh? And he said, you good. So my goal for you guys is becoming financially unfuckwittable is this idea that life is going to keep lifing. Stuff is going to keep happening. You're going to create a budget and the budget may work sometimes. And sometimes things are going to pop up that were not in your budget and it may feel stressful. It may feel like you want to shut down, and you have to have this type of energy to be able to overcome any obstacles, to be able to foresee obstacles, to figure out how to navigate things, to have the audacity to go in spaces that people say we shouldn't, to have the audacity to apply for jobs that people say you're not qualified for. I'm telling you right now, this is the energy and the attitude you have to change your financial life. Hey, say hi in the comments. I see a couple of y'all in here. Okay, so this workbook is jam-packed. It has so much stuff in here that I was doing my best to give y'all a preview of what was in here, mind you. And I still couldn't get all of the pages. I still couldn't get all of the pages on here. Like 2 pages, and this is still not all of them, of the activities you have. So let me explain to you how it's broken out. You've got 2 really distinct sections. The first is the mindset section. The mental health section, and I'm going to just show you where it breaks up. So this whole first section is mental health. And then this second section of this workbook is all finance. And this is really a couple of different things put together. I'll go over that a little bit more. But the reason why I led with mental health is because financial self-care always begins with actual self-care. The reality is most of us don't actually need more information. You guys already know the formula for budgeting. Spend less than you make. A lot of times the issue isn't us overspending. Sometimes people are not, splurging. They're not going crazy. They're not overextending themselves, but life happened. And when life happened, they shut down and they stopped being able to do the things that they need to do really well. I know personally, going through depression, dealing with trauma, it shut me down in a lot of ways, a couple of different times in my life. And all of this knowledge that I had about money, I couldn't activate in that season of my life. I was too depressed to check my mail, too depressed to log in and pay my bills. I was in pure self-sabotage mode, and it wasn't intentional. It was because I was shut down. I didn't understand how important my actual mental health was to being able to activate and use that skill set. So in the beginning, I talk a lot about how to regulate your emotions so that you're in a good space to be able to make stronger financial decisions in the first place. But I lead off with one of the most important factors for me when I was going through depression and I was needing to come out of it. I'm telling you right now, my support system was huge for that. I tried to do it all by myself once before. I pulled myself out in that season by myself, but let me tell you something, it was way harder and it took a lot more work than it took when I actually had support system. So in the beginning of this workbook, I can't tell what's left and right. The beginning of this workbook, I start by giving you space to build your financial power team. Those are people you need to know in the financial industry so that if something happens in life, you're not trying to figure out where their information is while you're also distressed, right? So some of the people who you need to have on your financial power team: financial coach, a financial advisor, and they're different than financial coaches, okay? Financial advisors are helping you plan for your long-term future. They're investing, they're licensed to be able to buy stocks and insurance products for you. A financial coach is helping you with your day-to-day money management so that you actually follow the path that you planned on. You need to have your insurance agent. You need to know a CPA, depending on what you got in your financial house. You need to have a credit repair specialist in case something happens and you need to challenge it. Or at least you might want to just know a good one. An estate planner. Let me tell you something. If you guys have been the beneficiary of an estate when someone has passed away, and all they had was a will or no will at all, I'm telling you right now, it is a nightmare. It's a nightmare. People think that wills are enough, and it's not. If you only have a will when somebody passes away, you still have to go through probate court. And probate court is long, expensive, annoying, and to me, it's just a money grab. It's a money grab from the court system. And so an estate, having an estate plan is critical if you have some assets that you plan to pass on. A realtor, especially if you plan on becoming an investor using property. Get to know your banker. I know it seems like the days of going to the bank is kind of gone, but I'm telling you, get to know your local banker, because your local banker still has a lot of pull when you're trying to make some strategic changes and trying to get approved for different funding options. Having a good relationship with your banker is critical, especially if you are a business owner and you're trying to get funding for your business. Get to know them, have them get to know you. Career coach, y'all. Sometimes you need to invest in support to get to where you want to go. A lot of times we want to be cheap. We want to DIY it. We want to update our resume all by ourselves, and that's fine. I'm all here for DIYing things, but sometimes to go further, faster, you need to just go ahead and hire somebody who can help you out. And so something I always suggest my clients to do when they're not satisfied with their pay, with their pay, they feel like they should be making more money than what they're making, or they're just quite frankly overextended and need to possibly make a career change, is to make one of their first savings goals, saving to invest in hiring a career coach. Somebody who's going to be able to help you understand your transferable skills that you may be leaving off your resume in order for you to be able to get a position in the field that you want. I actually plan to do some live interviews with a couple of people in the industry that would be able to help you. One is a career coach. The other one, she does a lot with career readiness for getting into the tech space or the government space. And the person who is the career coach, she actually works in human resources in her day job. And she's got all the behind the scenes tea about what to do, what not to do when you're applying for jobs, when you're setting up your LinkedIn profile. So I encourage you to hire somebody who understands what employers are looking for, especially in this new age of technology. So I'll have her on here soon. Her name is Tamara. She's a whole vibe. So this is this first section, your power team, your financial power team. Now I keep this side. Now, these are the financial people, but if you notice, I got another section down here of some other people that are not financial professionals, but I think they should be on your financial power team. Number one, a therapist. Looking at your numbers can be triggering. One of the main reasons clients pay me to be coached and hesitate to show up to that first appointment that they paid for is because they have so much anxiety just looking at the numbers, logging in, looking at the bank accounts. It creates a lot of angst, a lot of shame around some of the decisions they made in their past. And sometimes we need support, especially when the financial issues are not of our own making. We need to understand how to process that. If you are in a financial situation because of previous relationship, because of death, divorce, grief, health issues, there's trauma from your childhood, there's a lot of things that you might need to unpack in addition to being coached. And so I always recommend that people have the support of their therapist in case we touch a point that is touchy. And you need to understand. And the reason why that's important is because you'll never stop being triggered by it if you do not begin to have a healthy understanding about what it is that's going on in your life and how it's affecting your financial decisions. Okay. So for me, dealing with abuse, it made me very anxious having conversations around things around money with a partner because I was anxious that it was going to turn into a big fight, a big argument, and possibly a physical altercation. And it created a lot of angst for me. Even when I was with a partner who was very safe, after that, I still had a lot of angst, even though that wasn't an issue because I never processed that trauma. I had to actually go to therapy to begin to work through the effects of that relationship so that I could have healthy conversations around money, because the conversation still needed to happen with a healthy partner, but I still wasn't having them despite the safety that I had there because I hadn't processed that. So please have a therapist. Hey, Shayna. Hey, Tika. Great info. Thanks. Awesome. Also, who else do you need on your financial power team? A budget bestie. I promise you, it's much easier to stick to your financial goals if you got at least one person in your life who's trying to stick to them too. I promise you. If you've done the money challenges with me, like the No Spend September challenge, those are always easier when someone else is doing the challenge with you because they're not baiting you into buying foolishness. And they're encouraging you. They remember what your goals are. They're finding things to help support you. And even if that person doesn't have the same financial goals, a budget bestie doesn't have to be the person who is literally on the same journey as you, but there's somebody that you feel safe talking to about what you're dealing with when you're struggling. Some of the things that people deal with is if they've been letting bills pile up and they need to make phone calls to bill collectors or to go through mail, that can be an overwhelming feeling. I did what's called a paper party for a friend of mine. She was dealing with a lot of stress and she was in financial crisis and she had let papers pile up quite a bit. And I offered to come over and just go through all of the mail and organize it with her. And we were able to get through that. We ordered some pizza, we turned to some music, we made it a whole vibe. And she told me that it was exactly what she needed. It completely changed her life to have that support. And the reason why I was able to do it is because there was a season in my life where I needed that support for myself, where I needed somebody to help pull me out of the hole that I was in emotionally and just be here while I did the laborious work. Like, I know how to go through my mail, but it doesn't mean that it's always easy when you are feeling stressed and anxious. So get a budget bestie. If you don't have one, come into my community. If you're on my YouTube right now, hit subscribe and become a baddie. Okay. Join the community. Speaking of which, find a community that fits your life, who understand your specific issues. Like I have ADHD, I'm neurodivergent, and there's some very specific things around money that my community understands and needs support around. And so for me, it's important for me to be in that group, to be able to ask questions, and also just to feel like I'm not alone and I'm not doing it wrong. And you may have some unique issues that only people in your situation can understand. So whether it's professional group or a parenting group, whatever it is that you need support around, a grief group, you'd be surprised what resources you can find in a group who's in your situation. Divorce groups, They probably know really good attorneys in that group, right? So create a community. So that's in the very beginning. I start you off strong with being able to have the people you need when you need them. And I gave you more space for networking. Let me tell you something. I used to hate networking with all my heart. Those who know me probably think I'm lying when I say I'm shy, but I'm incredibly shy in new places. I'm not shy with people I know. I'm extroverted with them, but put me in a networking room and I'm somewhere in a corner. But I have grown to like networking a lot more because I see it as an opportunity to serve them. Because I like to consider myself a little bit of a plug. Building relationships helps me fill a gap. When I know somebody and somebody else needs something, I'm able to connect it to. It doesn't have to be about me. So I've learned to enjoy networking because of the ability to connect people. And the beauty about connecting people is they remember you. They remember you for stepping in and helping them out in their life. And later on in life, you never know, you might need them and you'll be top of mind for them. You never know what job somebody's in that might be helpful for you, that might affect your budget. Okay. So build relationships. And this is a space for you to not only write down who you met, write down the contact information, write down something you want to remember about them. Because if you got ADHD, I mean well, but I'm gonna forget. And a little checkbox, because this is a part that I used to never do. Actually follow up with them to strengthen out those relationships. So that's in there. And I'm telling you right now, if you're trying to get a new career or you're trying to grow a business, this better be a page you use a lot. Okay. Okay, so this is what I talk about where I said this book is hella black. Okay. It's black women all up and through here. It's so black. It's so bliggity black. Like even when I couldn't make, like, even look, even when they couldn't be, I did my best for us to feel seen and heard in this workbook. And it is what anybody can get it. Anybody can use it. You know how many times I looked at a textbook and I ain't never seen no black people in it? Okay. But I was still learning. Okay. So for the audience members who are not of color and still want the book because they see that this will be a good tool for them, go ahead and get into it. Okay. Get into all this melanin. Anyway, I talk about mental health and the worries that we tend to have around money, the most common issues with money, the health issues that come up as a result of it. And then I give you some tools on how to regulate this list of things you can do when you're feeling anxious, when you're feeling distressed emotionally. And it doesn't have to be about money. Anything can trigger you. But when you're in that heightened state of emotion and your sympathetic nervous system is triggered, your prefrontal cortex shuts down. It's designed to do that. That fight, flight, or freeze mode, that's your sympathetic nervous system. And when that part of your brain is shut down, you don't make the best financial decisions. It's shut down. So anytime you've been stressed and then turn around and have to make a big financial decision, it probably wasn't the best decision for you. Getting into arguments and then turning around and deciding whether or not to quit a job, probably not the best time to do it. So this right here gives you ideas on ways to regulate and activate that parasympathetic nervous system. Now, the way I remember the difference between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system is I think of like a parachute, because a parachute, when it opens up, it slows you down, right? It slows you down. So if you're free falling out of a plane, that parachute slows you down and you feel safer. You can think more critically. You can make decisions better, right? That sympathetic nervous system is like, we don't want to die. Right. And you don't necessarily make good decisions from that mindset. So it has a purpose, but you don't want to be using that in this decision. So that's in here. I talk about the 2 ways to respond to triggers, and then I go into the 5 worries that people have and the 5 ways that you can get past these worries. And that's what this workbook really helps you do. And I'm gonna tell you about the 5 worries because I'm not a gatekeeper. I don't care if you have the book. I'll just go ahead and tell you what they are. So the 5 worries that most people have is I'm worried that I have more bills than money. I'm in the red, and I don't know what I'm gonna do about it. And the way that you resolve that, of course, of getting out of the red, is to increase your income or decrease expenses. But let me tell you something. Decreasing expenses can only go but so far, because you got nothing else to cut. Increasing income is usually the most effective way However, it's not the quickest way. You can call and turn off a service today. If you apply for a job, you might not start for a couple of months, right? So actively do both. Cut expenses temporarily while you search for a better job. But here's the thing. If you don't ever change the behaviors you have, making more money, it's going to get ate up too. You're going to get into lifestyle creep, and you're going to be just over broke all over again. So you absolutely have to begin to understand why you're making the financial decisions that you're making. Otherwise, more money, more problems. Okay. So worry number 1 is resolved by getting out of the red. Worry number 2 is paycheck to paycheck. And the way we resolve that is by getting a month ahead. Now, paycheck to paycheck is stressful. And that's most of us, right? Where if we miss one paycheck, something not getting paid. And that creates a lot of anxiety around actually paying the bill. I know lots of clients who say they had the money to pay a bill on time, but they were constantly worried that something was going to pop up. And so they just decided to like not pay it right away. And now they've got late fees. They eventually paid the bill, but it actually cost them so much more when they had the money. That could have been resolved simply by knowing exactly how much money is coming in and going out. So they had the confidence. But the other part is being a month ahead. That gives you like a 30-day grace period for things to go wrong and you be able to resolve them. It allows you to put your bills on auto pay. So that way, if you are like me, ADHD, and you tend to be forgetful and forget to pay a bill, even when you have the money, it's on auto pay. So you can set it just in case you forget it. Okay. But it's scary to put yourself on auto pay. If y'all saw my story on my Instagram page, when you paycheck to paycheck, when every dollar counts, it's scary to put yourself on auto pay. But being a month ahead gives you confidence because all the money for every bill that month was already there a month ago. It's sitting in there. So that means every paycheck you're getting is simply replenishing that month ahead fund. Whew, that feels really good. That feels really good. Now, I'm doing a month ahead fund challenge. And it's free. You can actually go to my website, go to youngrichruder.com/month ahead to download the chart. But it'll give you like the worksheet and everything that you can do in order to start saving and challenge yourself. I actually plan to do a live challenge once a year. I've already done a challenge for this year. I may do it again before the end of the year since the book has come out. Y'all let me know if y'all want to do that. But you can still do the challenge anytime. So you can go to the website, download the chart, and do the challenge. You can post in the group or tag me on YouTube and let me know how things are going. Listen, if y'all do the challenge and y'all find unusual ways to make money and you get your month ahead fund, please tag me. Let me know so I can hype y'all up. I want to celebrate y'all. Okay. So that's the second worry, is how to resolve feeling paycheck to paycheck. The stress of being paycheck to paycheck is to get a month ahead. The third worry is what I said before. The fear that, okay, I'm not a month ahead, but I'm worried that 5 minutes from now, something is going to pop up, right? I'm good. I can pay all my bills, but all I need is a tire to blow to throw me off. All I need is for my battery to die to throw me off. All I need is for, I'm trying to think of another pop-up expense. I've had a couple of them. I just had to replace my window in my car. If y'all follow me on Instagram then or YouTube or TikTok or whatever, then you probably saw it. Listen, that was some pretty coin. Okay. How do you prepare and avoid this worry? The real issue with budgeting for most people that I see, and I've never seen anybody, I look at budgets all the time. I have never seen anybody who is preparing for their real life. I've seen maybe one person who was doing an okay job of being able to think outside of just bills. But for the most part, when people budget, auto pay, when people budget, they tend to only budget for bills, gas, and groceries. Like that's the only thing that's going to happen. They might budget a little bit for eating out, but that's it. And your real life is filled with way more things than that. You've got back to school shopping. You've got field trips. You've got, or if you got kids anyway, you've got weddings that you have to attend, birthdays, holidays, Thanksgiving, your utility bill is higher if you're hosting because you got to have more people using water and electricity and eating up your food, right? You've got, if you're in Virginia, you have property tax on your car that's due 2 times a year. These are your real life expenses that are irregular. And these are the expenses that almost always are setting people back. When people feel like they're not good at budgeting, it's not because they're not actually trying. It's just because they're only planning for the fixed expenses, the normal things. But we have to do better at being able to budget for the irregular expenses. That's something that this workbook addresses in the financial sections. It helps you think through a lot of the variable expenses that happen throughout the year. And basically, once you know how much your real irregular life costs, a simple way of being able to plan for that is divide that number by 12 and save that amount each month so that as that expense pops up, it's already there. So you're kind of like prepaying in your savings account, treating it like a bill that's definitely coming. So when the expense pops up, you don't have one paycheck that suddenly you got a chunk to take out of the current paycheck to cover it, because you can pull it from your savings account. So I talk about that, right? But you don't feel confident saving for an expense down the road when you're paycheck to paycheck. So that's why getting a month ahead is the first step, because you want to have the confidence to be able to put money aside and not worry about your regular bills overdrawing. Number 4, the fourth worry that I see that clients come to me about is FOMO. That they feel like they work entirely too hard to not be enjoying more of their money. And I feel it. And I agree. They're working really hard and they deserve more of it. And the solution for that is creating ways to say yes to yourself. The way you say yes to yourself is, first of all, getting really clear on what you value. The beginning of this workbook really goes into values, because a lot of times we're buying things and we don't even know why we really buy them. It's just that our mom bought them and that was normal and we never really questioned it, and it has nothing to do with us. We don't even need it. I've given this example before about canned goods. I used to have like my pantry stacked, loaded with canned goods, because my mama always had canned goods because she was feeding everybody. And then I realized I don't even like canned vegetables. Like, why do I have all this stuff? I was doing it because that was normal. And I thought you're supposed to have that type of stuff in here in case, I don't know, a storm. But I don't like canned vegetables. And I was wasting my money on stuff like that. So figuring out what you value. Another area where figuring out where your value matters. People who buy houses because homes are a sign of success. And I don't mean like any house, but buying a house that doesn't align with their values. And then they end up being house poor. Somebody who loves to travel, who never really likes being home, don't like doing yard work, right? They don't really be entertaining. And they got a big house and they're paying a big mortgage because they could technically afford it. And, you know, based on society's expectations, they should be moving on up, right? And it's eating up money that they could have used for traveling. They could have said yes to an adventure overseas, but they can't say yes because the house is eating it up, because they bought something that they didn't value. When you get aligned with your values, that's what Rich is about. And Young, Rich, and Rooted, young is you're willing to learn about yourself, learn about anything. Rich is you know what to value, because when you know what you value, you can't be baited into buying things that don't make sense for your life, for the desires that you have with your money. You love the color. Yay. I love that. Yeah. Guys, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments. I'm going through them, but I'll ask your questions live. It does not have to be about the workbook. It could be anything about budgeting. I'm happy to answer your questions, but I'm going to go through some of the main parts of the workbook. So yeah, getting clear on your values, and then going back through your budget and asking yourself, are the things I'm paying for, do they make sense for my values, right? Do they make sense for me? Like, why am I doing this? Why am I paying for this, right? Okay. And then the last is finding funds to invest. And let me tell you something, this one right here, this is the big one. This is the one that's going to make all of this so much easier. Creating passive streams of income. My hope is that all of us can afford to make clocking in optional, where you don't have to clock into work and you don't have to choose between your actual health and well-being over your financial stability, right? Where you can afford to prioritize self-care without question, because my investment pays my bills. Your investment could be a property. Your investment could actually literally be an investment fund. Your investment could be a car that you put on Toro. That's another stream of income. There's so many ways to make money passively. And my hope for you guys is that you guys get curious, be young, be willing to learn, and figure out your investment personality, figure out what type of investment that you would want to make so that you can save to buy something that pays you, okay? And believe me, I believe that y'all should use OPM. Some people believe that all debt is bad. I don't believe that. I think there's bad debt and there's good debt. Bad debt is debt that where it just costs you money. So consumption, right? Buying clothes, bad debt. Good debt is buying something that pays you money. So the house I live in, bad debt, because it just costs me money, right? But if I were in a multifamily property and I was renting out one of the units, or even if I was renting out a portion of my home, that would be good debt because it would be creating an income stream for me. So I want you, if you guys are going to use debt, to start clearing out all your bad debt so that it's available for you to buy things that will make you money. That's good debt. That's how the wealthy get rich. They're not saving their way to investing. They're leveraging OPM, other people's money, okay? Whether it be grants or loans, they are leveraging OPM to get there faster. So, but you got to get your credit good in order to be able to qualify. So we got to work on a budget, pay our bills on time so that the credit score go up, right? And you get approved for the loan. So yeah, that is the framework for the workbook. That's kind of addressing what you're going to deal with. You're going to deal with the mental health part. There are activities about your values. There's lots of goal setting and planning pages in here. Let me see if I can go too long. Lots of, I feel like this light is not letting me be great. Let's see. Can y'all see that a little bit better? So there's lots of goal setting and planning pages in here. These are some of the pages that were in the old planner. If you guys had the planner and loved it, that's what I put back in here for y'all, because I know y'all especially liked this year-long planning section. This is probably the most popular section of the old planner. So I left it in here for y'all. Let's see. Being able to set goals around the 4 key financial skills. There's 4 financial skills that everybody needs to know how to master, and they need to strengthen, right? You're never probably going to master any of them, but you can strengthen all of them. So earning money, right? You might be thinking like, I have a job. I know I have that skill, but do you? Right? Because do you understand how to command your worth? Right? Do you understand how to negotiate your salary? Do you understand how to ask for a raise? Right? Do you understand the unique gifts that you have not been articulating that might be able to get you into a different position, a position that you enjoy more, right? So the earn, right? There's some goals that you can set around that, right? YouTube University, you can go online, look up information on how to go about asking and negotiating a raise. I used that for negotiating too. Actions, let's see what else. Budgeting, the workbook. Budgeting is one of those skills that you can technically know, but then struggle to do. This is why coaching is powerful. Again, it's not just about the information, because a lot of y'all have this information. Y'all are smart. I keep telling y'all, my people, y'all are intelligent. Okay. Y'all know what to do, but you need support and accountability to do the action, whether it's because you are in analysis paralysis, or you're paralyzed from anxiety, or whether it's just because you're just a procrastinator and you just don't feel like doing it, and you're not going to do it unless you have an appointment, right? You need a body double. You got ADHD and you need some support. Like, there's lots of reasons that people do coaching, and some of the reasons is because if they don't have an appointment, they'll never put themselves first. And it's not because they don't want to, it's because they tend to deprioritize themselves. So they could say, I'm going to sit down on Sunday at 2:00 and do my budget. But when their husband, their boyfriend, their cousin, their friend, whoever calls and says, I need you, they they put themselves at the bottom of the to-do list instead of honoring that time and saying, nope, I have an appointment with myself at that hour. Okay. So some of them, when they have an appointment with me, it feels like a real appointment. And so they're more likely to honor their commitment to working on their money bi-weekly than they would with themselves. But if you can do it with yourself, go crazy. I love that for y'all. Okay, what else is in here? I talk about ADHD very specifically, about some of the unique challenges we have with money. If you suspect you have ADHD, then this will be an amazing tool for you. I made this lots of white space. I tried to make this so visually friendly, lots of color, lots of big letters, so it's interesting and we don't get bored. Because listen, if you know, you know. If you don't have ADHD, you don't understand why I'm expressing this, but I did my best to make it visually interesting, which is why it had to be thick, because I was trying to create a lot of white space, so I couldn't cram a lot onto one page. There's a couple pages like that, but for the most part, I tried not to cram everything on here. So I talked about the financial specific issues with ADHD, things like forgetfulness, impulsivity, control, or disorganization, procrastination, time blindness, difficulty with executive functioning, stress and anxiety, rejection sensitivity, dysmorphia. I talk about those things and how it affects your money specifically, and we can talk even more about what you can put into place to protect you from you when these issues are creating obstacles with your finances. But here's the thing, the issues that people with ADHD deal with, they're not unique to us, meaning you can have issues sometimes with time blindness or impulsivity. Like, you don't have to have ADHD to be experiencing these. You just may not be experiencing these issues as frequently, as severely, and the consequences aren't as extreme, right? So you might be late to work occasionally, right? But if you have time blindness, you're probably late to work a lot, and you probably have possibly lost a job because of attendance. I lost my job many years ago when I was in like my 20s because I lost track of time. Okay. So yeah, that affects your wealth, right? What else? Impulsivity control with ADHD. Okay. What does that mean? Impulsive shopping, right? You see something, you got to have it right now. You lack the ability to self-regulate and say, no, not right now. Right. So I have put some things into place to help protect me from me when I feel that impulse to buy some stuff I don't really need. And so you need to be aware of what you're dealing with in order to be able to put some systems in place. That's how you get to unfuck with ability. So you can stop fucking with yourself. Okay. So that's in here. And these are some of the techniques that work well for people with ADHD. And again, like I said, you don't have to have ADHD to experience these issues. So if you find yourself experiencing these issues, even if you don't have them, these techniques will work for you too. So while I focus on people with ADHD, the techniques work for everybody. Okay. What else is in here? So we get to the money section here, and this is where I tried to break this up as visually as I can. I tried to make this big and fun and interesting, and oh my gosh, this might be the only Caucasian lady in this book. Okay. I wanted all this chaos around her, and she was the only one who was doing it. So I don't know if y'all want to consider her light skinned, that's fine. If not, they have token white black person in their stuff sometimes. This is my token white lady. We gonna give her a name. We're gonna call her Tina. I think maybe Linda. We're gonna call her Linda. So anyway, here I talk a little bit more about what's wrong with budgets. I go page to page, so you're able to look at your budget and you have the space to be able to go through and figure out your income, write that number down, and be able to keep going through the activity and pause where you need to pause, right? So step 1, step 2, being able to figure out your fixed expenses. Step 3, this is the roller coaster area, the pop-up expenses. This is the part of budgeting that most people struggle with. They don't understand their real life expenses. And this section is designed to help you understand that area and be able to budget for it more effectively. So how to budget for variable expenses. So that's in here. We address what to do if you are in the red and give you some ideas that will help you close the gap if you're in the red. So some ideas on how to reduce your fixed expenses, to reduce your day-to-day expenses, to reduce your pop-up expenses, and to increase your income. So all of that is here to help you figure out, to reduce the time you're spending brainstorming of how to get out of the hole. And then I talk about the month ahead fund, which we already kind of talked about earlier. This is the challenge worksheet that you're going to get if you sign up for the challenge. Again, it's free. Just go to my website, youngrichrecruiter.com/month ahead. But if you have the book, it's in here. So, which reminds me that occasionally I am going to do trainings, live trainings and stuff like that. So it's helpful if you have the book because you get to ask me questions. So if you're finding yourself stuck on any section and you want support, come on in, subscribe so that you see me go live and can ask me questions because I want to help you. My regular clients, they got access to me all the time. They send me text messages, emails, and we have our sessions. So, but y'all can get me live. So I want to make sure I'm giving to y'all too. What else is in here? Oh my God, I got stuff for debt payoff. Let's see. Oh, organizing, how to organize your bank accounts. So that way it's very easy for you to see what the money is for, right? Because sometimes we're like, oh, I got this money left over. Look at me, I'm doing good. Not realizing that money was for something else, right? So I work with my clients one-on-one to set up sinking funds. So that way it's very easy for them to understand and be able to know when they need to increase savings in a particular fund for a particular reason, or when they're good and they can actually start throwing some extra money into some fund goals. But that page helps you talk about that. What else is in here? And then I got 4 sections. There's the invest, pay, play, and save. And I talk about investing a little bit, the idea of giving yourself a raise, just very lightly. I know it doesn't look really light because there's a lot of stuff in here. I help you figure out right here how to figure out what's your FU number. Your FU number is the number you need to have to clock out for good. Okay. And it's based off of the FIRE method. If you guys are familiar with FIRE, then that's where that method comes in as far as how to come up with the calculation. But there's 2 numbers that you kind of want to know. You want to know your FU number high and your FU number low. Your FU number high is what I would consider financial freedom. And your FU number low is financial independence. Like financial independence is like, okay, the money that I have in my investment is bringing me enough money to pay my basic bills and I don't have to work and I'll be able to just live just fine, right? Financial freedom is not only can I live fine, but I also can still do whatever I want, right? So for a lot of us, we just want to be able to clock out. Like that feels like freedom to me, to be able to have time freedom. But for some of us, we have bigger visions in that, and we want to be able to clock out and live life of luxury. So you want to know what both of those numbers are. And this is a quick way for you to help you figure out what that number is. Guys, when you do the number, when you come up with your number, don't be anxious. Don't feel like it's a number that's too far away and you can't get to it, because you can. You're going to have to be strategic about investing in things that bring you income faster than your job. That's it. Shayna said, this is so good. Make money and learn how to make money work for you. Yes. Yes, friend. You know the vibes. Pay section. I had created a section for you to organize your bills, your fixed expenses, and know exactly who you paid and if you actually paid them, so you can check them off, like if you're forgetful like me, right? And also, I put a reminder in here to negotiate your bills. Y'all, make these people work for your money, okay? Some of y'all ain't got an insurance quote in years, and you just paying them, and it's other companies that'll give you the same service for less money. Work for me. It's March Madness out here. May the best man win. Okay, so this is a reminder to actually go through and look and see better rates, better cell phone rates, better cable or streaming service options. Check and see what's available to you. Is there anything else in here? I have a debt section that kind of talks about the debt snowball method, and this allows you to organize. This side allows you to organize your debts in order so that you can easily see which credit card you're focused on paying off first, and then be able to roll that amount over once it's paid off into the next debt. So that way you can start to really make traction with your debt. I told you I put a lot in here. Like everything I thought you guys wanted, needed, I put in here. I was not selfish and stingy. There's so many people who told me to break this up. This could be 4 different products at least. That I know to be true. And that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted you guys to have it all. I wanted you guys to have it all at a lower cost than it would have been if I had broken these up into 4 products. And yeah, that's what I wanted to do. Like, I don't want to be a gatekeeper. I wanted to make it easy and accessible for y'all, because there's lots of people who want to work with me at coaching and they can't afford one-on-one coaching with me. And that's okay. They're not in that place yet, because they will be eventually when they do the work. But I want them to still be able to do something until they can. And so I want to be able to provide the tools. And that's why I created this very, very extensive workbook, because it is in the absence of me. Now, my clients, they get to do this with me, but you guys can still get started. This is my cash budgeting section. So those of y'all who know me, you guys know I am the creator and the designer of the Cream Collection, which will be releasing this year. And I believe in cash budgeting for us impulsive spenders. And it's honestly less taxing to track cash than it is the swiping. And I'm less likely to buy foolery. But I created a tool for you to be able to track what you're spending from week to week. And then also to be able to plan for how you want to use it. So at the end of each week or each month, when you figure out how much cash you have left over that you didn't use, you can celebrate yourself guilt-free, or you can accelerate a goal. And this makes it very easy for you to do it. And I just find it to be motivating. Again, money is boring. And so I did my best to make it fun. And then I created a page where you can track all year. So if you're doing this, and I do have the cash pages on the monthly section, but you can come back to this section here to log every week what your spending was. Let me tell you how powerful this is. Most of the time you're just guessing. When you first start working with me, you don't really know how much you spend on groceries or how much you spend eating out, or you're doing your best guess, right? You definitely don't know how much your unusual expenses are. Being able to track it helps you be able to see patterns. Does this number make sense? Do I like this number? Do I like how much I'm spending in this area? It also helps you be able to see wins. It also helps you to see trends. I don't know what that is, but that looked like a bot comment, so I'm not going to put that on the screen. It also helps you to be able to see trends, to see if there's a time of the year where your spending increased. So if you're looking here in week 23 of the year, and those 2 weeks there was a lot of spending going on compared to the rest of the year, I'd be curious, like, what was going on in your life at that time? I had a client when we started working together and I was looking at her spending patterns. I noticed that in a particular month there was a lot way different in spending compared to previous months. And I asked, can I ask you a question? Is there anything that was going on in your life during these 2 particular months? And she was like, oh my God, how did you know? That was the period where her husband had asked for a divorce. And so she was really stressed and really sad. And she was doing a lot of emotional spending. And so I'm able to see stuff like that in trends, like what's going on in your life. So now you have an awareness that grief, because the end of a relationship is kind of like a grief process, can affect what you do with your money, right? Not only that, then there's just the transition of having to relocate as well. So you could be a little less hard on yourself if that's the case. Saving, the pop-up planner. I put that in here, y'all. Remember I said y'all know how to budget for y'all real life because you don't really know what's happening in your real life because we act like these things aren't coming? I put this on here so you can start to write down what's happening in your real life. You got a trip coming up in July. Why is it not on here? And you with an estimate of how much it's going to cost. You got back to school shopping. Roughly how much does that usually cost? You got your best friend's baby shower coming up. Put it on here. You got a dentist appointment and you got a $20 copay. Put it on here. You got your oil change scheduled for the next 2 oil changes. You got one here, and they both cost $100 each. Put it on here, right? Those are pop-ups expenses that you can begin to see ahead of time, that there's going to be some months where your expenses are higher than others. And so that you can prepare in other months and not OD with that extra money and hold on to it so that you have the money for when those expenses pop up, and put those in your sinking funds. So this is the planner. It helps you map out what's going on for the year. And as things get added, adjust your savings contributions. I did a similar thing with the snowball here, just like the debt snowball. As you fill up one sinking fund, sometimes you can't contribute. So let's say you add up all of your pop-up expenses and you divide it by 12, and you're like, oh my God, I got to put together $400 a month into my savings in order to be prepared for all of them. Well, that's usually not feasible for people. They usually don't have that much disposable income. So maybe if they have like $100 a month in excess that they can contribute to savings, we would start with prioritizing these expenses. So we'd look at all the expenses you have coming up and asking what's most likely to come up first and what is necessary. Like, so for example, property tax on the car, that's a bill. You got to pay that. You don't got an option. But I ain't got to buy you birthday gifts. I don't. I really don't. Okay. So I can put that at the bottom of the list. But if I know I'm absolutely doing it, I might want to prioritize it a little bit higher, right? If I know I'm definitely buying the gift, it is what it is, I might put that higher on the list. But I'm going to put the ones that are actually bills higher in priority. And then after that, organize your sinking funds by what are priorities to you. So if you're like, I don't need to buy clothes all the time. In fact, I'm trying to get rid of some. I'm trying to purge. I'm going to put that at the bottom of the list because I don't need to be in nobody's store buying clothes, right? If you prioritize these in order, the order of the sinking fund, the expense that you need, you can start to contribute the amount you've decided per month. And once you fill up that sinking fund bucket, you can start to roll that savings into the next bucket. Doesn't mean you have to only put all of it into one bucket. You can put $50 into that bucket and 10 in the others, right? And when that's filled up, roll it over. It just means you're working more aggressively in one particular bucket. Kind of like your credit card payments, right? You're paying minimums on all of them, but you're putting all your excess onto the first debt you want to pay off until it's paid off, and then you're rolling it over. So you're doing the same thing with your sinking funds. This area right here, I told you this book, I gave y'all so much. It's only $57, but right now it's on sale for $47, right? I dare you to go on Barnes and Noble and find a workbook that got this much. That tell you any of this stuff. Because I looked. I didn't create this. I wouldn't create something that already existed if we didn't need it. I created it because it didn't exist. There wasn't a tool that had everything that I felt like I needed to move forward. And so I created it. So, okay. But this area right here is figuring out your peace of mind time. And what that is your liquidity rate. Guys, if you guys have questions, let me know in the comments. I don't want to be going too fast or giving y'all too much. But what liquidity rate is, it is the amount of time you would, like if you liquidated all of your liquid assets, meaning turned them all into cash, how many months could you pay your fixed expenses? How many months could you pay your minimum bills? That's what your liquidity rate is asking, right? Ideally, they tell you should have 3 to 6 months of savings, right? So you'd have a liquidity rate of 3 to 6, right? But most people don't even have a 0.1 liquidity rate, right? So that is the amount of cash they have on hand, check out the balance of their checking accounts, savings accounts, digital cash accounts. How much liquid money do you have? And when I say liquid, I mean not your 401k, because those things require fees and penalties for you to withdraw it. So it's not highly liquid. You can get it out, but it's not liquid because of what it would require for you to take it out. So if it has penalties associated with it, for example, if you have a CD and it's like a 2-year CD, yes, technically you could cash it in, but you'd be penalized for early withdrawal, right? So I wouldn't consider a CD very liquid. Some people do, I don't. Where's your liquid money? How much total do you have in all your savings, checking, cash apps, actual cash on hand? You're going to take that number and divide it by your fixed expenses. So if your fixed expenses for the month are $2,300, right? And you've got $4,600 in cash out of all of your savings and checking and everything, then you have number 2. So 4,600 divided by 2,300 is 2. So I can survive 2 months if I lost my job today. That's how much peace of mind time I have, that I have 2 months to figure out what I'm going to do, if to find another job, to figure out if I'm a, find a sugar daddy. Like, I don't know what the plan is, but I got 2 months to figure it out. That's my peace of mind time. So that's what you want to start figuring out. All of your savings contributes to your peace of mind. Okay. All of your checking contributes to your peace of mind. How much time? So even when you do your month ahead fund, right? That's specifically there to help you be ahead for paying your bills on auto pay, but that's still money that could be liquidated. And so you would consider that part of this calculation. So you're going to put all of that in here. Now, the goal with this section here is that you're checking your peace of mind every month, at least once a year, to see if you're improving. Are you getting more peace of mind? Do you have more time? So maybe you started off where it's like, I couldn't survive more than one paycheck, right? I got a 0.5. I'm gonna be able to get through half a month before I run out of money. I can't pay my bills after one paycheck, right? Well, if you're saving and you're increasing your income, you're decreasing your expenses, you're buying assets that are bringing in new income, and you're putting that money aside, and now then you continue to track yourself, and now you're at a 1. Now you can go a whole month, right? You know that you have more time to adjust to lifing, and that gives you more peace. Okay. There's got some new comments down here. Good stuff. Thank you. All right. Whew. Now we get to the budget. Can you believe we wasn't even at the budget? So in the beginning, where I'm talking about budgeting, that's actually not a budget. That's actually a cash flow statement. That's what most people think is a budget. And when you Google 99 times out of 100, you're going to get something that looks like that. Income minus expenses equal what's left over. That's not a budget. And it's not working for you because it's not a budget. A budget that only tells you what's happening this month is not telling you much of anything at all, right? It is helpful, though. It's the first step of creating a budget, because you do need to know how much money is supposed to be coming in and how much money is supposed to be going out and how much is available, the gap, your opportunity to invest or pay down debt, right? Or save. You need to know that number. And so the cash flow statement, which is what most people are creating when they create a budget, helps you begin to develop a budget. A budget is a spending plan. It should actually help you project and think beyond the month you're in. So I'm going to go to one of the pages, right? When I create budgets with my clients, we do this on a spreadsheet, so it's calculated. They don't got to do the math, right? But here's the paper version, right? And when we create a spending plan together, they're using the cash flow statements to write down what bills they're expecting to pay for the month, right? What expenses are they expecting this month, right? And what's the balance left over at the end of the week based on those expenses? Now, normally we got money left over. Yay, I can do something with it. But because our spreadsheet carries that balance into the next week and the next week and the next week, you can actually see how much of that money you need for the future. So you might get to the end of one month and say, oh my gosh, I'm so proud of myself. I got an extra $500 left over. I'm going to do something responsible with it. It doesn't have to be blowing it, right? You can say, I'm going to pay an extra $200 on a credit card, thinking you have the money available. But because you haven't projected beyond that month to see you don't know what pop-up expenses are coming, right? You don't know that maybe you actually needed $400 of that to carry over so that you don't overdraw in December, right? So you know that you're good here in July, but what's happening in October, right? A budget helps you think ahead. Now, you could do your budget and see, man, if I make this transaction right now, it's going to cause me to overdraft in October. That doesn't mean you have to tell yourself no. Now you're empowered. You have information. You could decide to tell yourself, okay, no, or not right now. Or you can decide, you know what, I have a couple of months to adjust, but you know exactly how much you need to adjust by, and you know when you need to adjust by, right? You know the date. You know, like by October 6th, if I don't have X amount of dollars in here, my account's going to overdraw, right? So you know how much overtime you need to work in order to be able to cover that. You know how much extra Ubering or whatever it is that you're doing to make extra income, right? You know how many extra clients you need in order to be able to cover that deficit. Because sometimes the expense isn't a yes or no. It's not something you have a choice. It happened. Like if your tire blew and You didn't have your sinking fund or what I call pop-up savings established yet to pay for that. Well, that money had to come out of your budget, right? Maybe you had the money this month for it, but maybe you needed it for a couple of months later. You still got to get that tire fixed because you got to go to work. So knowing when it's going to affect you will help you make adjustments now, so you can stop feeling like I keep taking one step forward just to take two steps backwards. Okay. What else is in here? Some people are visual budgeters and they like planning on calendars. So I have calendar pages in here. Now you're probably wondering like why I have two calendars. Because one, this one is the bill pay calendar. This one is for you to be able to write your balance and all the bills, the fixed expenses, the predictable expenses. So that way, you know exactly how much is coming out and you know that these things get paid. One thing I believe is that your bills should be in a separate account from your daily spending. Point blank period. You could put it all in one place, but you're more likely to make a mistake if you have it blended together. So your fixed expenses, you have your month ahead fund in there, and you have all your bills on auto pay. It's just a nice automated machine. It's just working, right? You got your paycheck, the amount that needs to be replenished. And I talk about how to figure out your replenishment amount here. That's just going in there. And that's just a well-oiled machine. You don't even got to think about it. Your spending, this is where you need to be a little bit more hands-on because you got the power. You swiping, right? So visually, if you want to track, well, here's my balance and be able to note what you spent from day to day, you could do that. You could write your pop-up expenses or appointments on here. You could literally use this as an actual calendar and just write things on here as well. But then at the bottom, I also put a place for you to note what you spend in cash. So if you do cash budgeting, you don't have to have a different tool to be able to log your cash, the cash that you're using. All right. Let's see what else is in here. Before each month, I start out the month with the family meeting page. You need to have money meetings with your family, right? The more you guys talk about money, the more normal it will be. And it won't feel like an anxious conversation for your children because they will be like, oh yeah, my parents talked about money all the time. You don't have to talk about the heavy things necessarily with your kids in the room, but you want to make talking about and being intentional and planning around money normal. One of the things that's going to affect your budget is your family's plans. Right. So if you have a budget, but you don't know that your kids got a field trip coming up, that they have school pictures and your husband is going out of town and he needs to eat out a lot that week because he's not going to be here. Right. Those things are going to derail your plan if you don't know that they're coming. So having a conversation about what your plans are for the month is helpful because it helps you plan financially, not just so you can be nosy and just know what you got going on. It's so that I can plan monetarily. Like, is there a cost associated with this, right? Oh, you're going out of town and maybe you don't need spending money because your job is giving you per diem, but maybe you're getting your hair done, right? I don't know what your cost is for traveling. But there's also space in here for you to check in, right? Because just like I told you, financial self-care begins with actual self-care. You need to make sure that you are in a good place emotionally so that your parasympathetic nerve is activated and you're in a good space to be able to make good financial decisions. Your family needs to be too. So talking about money where your husband is stressed out from coming from work, or your kids are frustrated with their homework, or you just yelled at them, right? That's not the best time to have these conversations, right? So you want to check in and know how they're feeling so that you guys can address the emotions of how they're feeling physically, mentally, or emotionally before you get into talking about money and making major life decisions. Because they're not going to be as engaged in planning if, yay, I'm glad you love it. They're not going to be as engaged in planning if they're feeling anxious and stressed. I kept the task area in here from the planner because, if you're having a family meeting and they're telling you things that they need to do and it's something you need to do or someone else needs to do, having a list of what those action items are, especially if you're forgetful, ADHD people, is helpful. So I put it here. I also, if you notice, you probably can't see here. Let me see. I could adjust the lighting. If you notice here, I don't just make it so that you do it, because our problem a lot of times is we feel like we need to put on our cape. Pass that along, okay? Be a super delegator. So the options are, you put the task here and you're going to put if to do it That means that's you to do. Delegate it. You're going to write who you delegating it to, or schedule it, right? So maybe you're not doing it right now, but maybe you need to do it on Tuesday, right? So you're making a note that I need to schedule this. Let's see, what else is in here? Each quarter has a growth tracker. So as you're working through your budget and you're getting better at being able to figure out how much you have in debt, how much you have in savings, and you're tracking these things, I want you to be able to measure your growth and see where you're progressing. You're not going to be progressing in all the areas at the same time. You're not, right? You might be focused on just debt, and you're looking to see if that is improving, right? You might be just focusing on savings and you want to see if that's improving. But some of the things that are being tracked here are not just monetary, right? Because my goal is to have y'all become what? Financially unfuckwittable. And so there are some things about how you're thinking about money. Are your actions aligning with your intentions, right? What are some of the questions? Are my thoughts supporting my intentions, right? Like, are you all in your head with the mind drama? Are you talking down at yourself all the time? Like, is that improving? Are you getting better about how you're talking to yourself about your opportunity, your situation, your ability to get out of your financial situation or make changes in your situation? Like, what is the conversation happening in your head? Is that improving? Because that is where you make growth with money. Becoming financially unfuckwittable is here. Okay. It'll be in your bank account when it happens here. Oh, and I got meal planning here because top 3 expenses in your budget: housing, transportation, and food. Okay. So even though it don't seem like it's about money, it's about money. It's in here. Like, do you really need another planner? Like, you don't. And then at the end of the year, let's see, you do another self-assessment. I don't know if I talked about the self-assessment in the beginning, but when you start the planner, you do the self-assessment here, and you're going to transfer these answers to Q1 in the tracker. So, what are the odds of me opening up directly to the page? So you would copy those answers there, because every quarter you're going to track your growth. And at the end, you're going to figure out how you feel about where you stand. The goal is to get better. It's not to be perfect, right? So if you find yourself feeling stronger, if the only thing you feel stronger in is that I have connections, I know I have a financial power team, I know who to reach out to when I need support, I feel supported, I'm using my support system, and that has made a lot of difference for you, I'm excited for you. I'm excited for you. I don't know what area of your finances that you need and want to work on, but I tried to include it in here. Now, if you want support and you want to be in a community, there's also some stuff at the end of it for the end of the year, so you can start thinking about your 2025 goals, your next year goals. And it's not dated, so you can get it now, even though it has calendars. So it says January, but it's not dated, so you can put the date and pick up wherever you want. If you guys want coaching, the information and some reviews from previous clients are back here. But I really want y'all to join my YouTube community. That's where I'm growing my audience and trying to build relationships with you guys on YouTube, because I feel like YouTube is a better platform for engaging with you guys and being able to help you guys and support you guys and drop videos and links to different resources. Sometimes you guys ask questions like on TikTok, and I can't even give you a link to a free resource, because their comment section doesn't allow you to do it. So I am trying to move to YouTube more often. So if you're watching me on a different platform now, thank you. I'm excited that you're here, but go to YouTube and go to youtube.com/youngrichrooted. Do it right now and hit subscribe. And then share this live with somebody else. Woo, y'all. That was a lot. Was that a lot? Do you guys have any questions? I went through just about all of it. I skipped a couple of areas because it's kind of impossible to go through. Y'all don't want to be here for a lecture. You've already been on here for an hour. But if you guys have any questions, slide in my DMs. I don't bite. And if you guys don't have any questions, we will end this live. Y'all, please share this with share this with somebody who needs support, somebody who wants a budget, somebody who wants a budget bestie, somebody who wants a better budgeting workbook, somebody who wants to support a Black business. Okay, that's it, y'all. Until next time. Intentionally unsupportable.